NSC Fan TV. Drew and I are here for a little bit of a review of last Sunday's 2-0 win against RSL. Drew, you said that you were going to eat your words about something. What are you going to eat your words about? It's going to.
It's going to taste. It's going to taste sour. It's going to taste bitter. But I think I need to eat my words on Loba. Formerly 72, now number 9. We had been giving him a lot of mess for taking the 9 number, the spot, and still not being in the starting lineup, and having bad touches, some back passes, and just overall not being where he needs to be. Low field awareness, not a lot of vision, and just kind of planting where he wants to be. Which is not.
So you're describing the past games, not the
past
current,
game.
not the current.
That's
game.
all. That's all the flack we've given him.
Yeah.
At least me specifically.
Yeah.
I think I need to eat all of that.
Really?
Because I think that he showed in that 45, that second half, that he can be a contributing, positive member to the team, and I think that it was actually not his fault, but maybe even if we had to assign any blame, which is hard to do in soccer, maybe even Mukhtar's fault for what wasn't a goal. When they got into the center after that little
scramble in the middle with all three Nashville players trying to scramble at that ball.
Yep, I think Loba was the shark in that moment.
Yeah,
it was Mukhtar's job to follow up on it, but he couldn't do it. He didn't. I mean,
well, so I agree with you that he that 45 minutes that we saw from him, and on the one hand was not good because of the fact that it had to come at the cost of Randall Leal's injury.
Yep. Yeah.
And so hopes for his recovery and that he's going to be okay. But I'm going to take a little bit of an issue with you about one thing about Loba's play, was that I did not see the mobility from him that I would have liked to have seen. Especially from somebody, on the one hand, if he's going to be the point guy, he needs to be in spaces. He needs to be in but he was squarely in the middle. He was regularly marked.
He would need to have some mobility.
I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him at the very least laterally a little bit more.
Yeah.
But look, I think that it was a solid shift, but it's not a shift that I'm happy again still with DP with the DP spot. So if he were just a sub and he came on, if it was just like, hey, we've got another forward, and he played 45 minutes and didn't mess things up and wasn't a black hole and didn't lose the ball and made pointless runs, that would have been a problem. But we've got a DP and now we're saying something like, well, it wasn't terrible. But he's a DP. He's our DP. Like he's one of our 3 DPs. Yeah. And he's still clearly being outplayed by CJ Sapong.
Sabong has the mobility. He's running around. He's tracking space a lot better than he was that game.
So maybe Loba just needs to be used differently, and so maybe I need to change what my expectations of him are. But I'm in agreement with you that he had good touches. I'm in agreement with you that his passes were good. I'm in agreement with you that he was in a good spot for one of the chances, but wasn't very useful. Wasn't very helpful with coming back. Wasn't helpful with harassing them whenever they held the ball, and didn't show a lot of mobility getting into spaces and making himself available. So
yeah, that's true. And I think I'll say if he's going to be something like what I think he wants to be, which is kind of like maybe a false 9 almost. Yeah. I mean, then he would need to do a lot more harassing.
More lateral, and more lateral play.
Being where he needs to be, I think,
So, again, he's still a work in progress. Would like to have seen the progress more completed, but hey, there we are.
I think that 45, I'll say this, it exceeded my expectations, I guess.
Yeah.
And to be fair, they weren't very high.
They weren't very high, so he cleared kind of a low bar.
But I mean, it was a bar, and he did clear it. So I think credit where credit's due. I feel like I should eat my words.
We are, right. If he's a work in progress, let's acknowledge the progress.
Yep. Okay. And that 45 is, I think, solid step. 45. The next step is probably going to be tomorrow.
Are we going to see him start against Atlanta tomorrow?
Chances are, I think.
Yeah, I hope he gets 90, and I hope that we see something good from him.
I hope we see 90. I hope we see something good, especially against Atlanta.
Especially against man, those 5 stripes just get me.
I mean, especially against Atlanta. I mean, I want to see him shown out.
Yeah,
I think there's a chance we do see him show out.
I hope so. So we had the Loba discussion. I want to talk about our midfield. and about just how fantastically they played today, or not today, on Sunday. And so, first thing is that, man, I think that Davis and McCarty, what a great pairing!
Oh yeah,
what a great pairing! Those two were really tireless runners. There were a couple times. I mean, I think that I've only got one little criticism, which is that I think that there was a dip in their heavy play and heavy running around 60, where sort of they were needed wide whenever balls were being rotated out, and there were a couple of places where I was like, yeah, like could have seen a little bit more running from him, but that is such a small thing, because again, we were sitting there. I was like, I would have liked to have seen a Dax in that spot, or Davis. They're playing really narrow, and maybe that's by design.
And maybe I wonder, is it though? Because with the two wingers in the midfield, being Moyle and Lovitz, is it okay? They need it. Yeah, I guess
if one's playing narrow, the other one needs to be on whichever the wide side is, or wherever the ball is.
I gotta say though, big up to McCarty though for digging it out. Like there were a couple times where he gave it away in that second half, where I was like, damn, he's probably tired. But then he got scrappy, won it back. I mean,
scrappy do.
Well,
so we were hypothesizing.
And Davis's harassment. I mean, it's crazy.
So both of them were just tireless runners, and showed the hustle and the pace that they needed to show pretty consistently.
Yeah.
But our hypothesis about them playing narrow then speaks to something that you were asking about with regards to what exactly the name for the formation, or what exactly is the formation that's being played.
What is the formation? Because you were saying that we were playing a 3-5-2, right?
Yeah, it looks like looks like it might be a 3-5-2, though maybe a 3-4-3 is the other.
3-4-3 would be the
other name for it. So whatever you think that Leal is doing there, is he part of the midfield, or is he one of the forwards?
I mean, we had been mentioning he drops back more in a defensive role, and that's a new asset to his game.
It's a real positive to his game.
And for me, at least, that leads me to the conclusion that we're playing something like a 3-4-2-1.
2-1.
And 2-1 is the Sapong, is our true 11, just doing the thing he does as he normally does. 2, that's Mukhtar and Leal, and I think Leal drops back more often to make it more like the 5.
Yeah.
And then you've got, of course, 3 flat across the back. And even in the 4, you've got flexibility, because of course you got Davis and McCarty in the middle typically, and then you've got Moyle and Lovitz on the wings. And I think when things get dicey, drop back.
They can come back and make it a 5.
Make it a 5 in the back.
That's right.
But I think it's like a flexible 3. It's kind of a weird setup, but I like it. It's not a 4-4-2, so it's not like what I'm used to seeing.
Well, so what did we? So I mean, we did see some change in terms of who was coming back more when Loba came on. So the second half was a little different, because in fact we saw Loba kind of go to that point.
We lost Leal, and Loba ended up playing more like an 11. Yeah. Although I would think, because of the number on his back, he'd play like a false 9, but he played more like an 11, kind of just sitting at the point. But the thing is, right, Sapong doesn't even do that when he's playing a striker. So there's something to be said there, and I think, would you say it'd be more Sapong or Mukhtar tracking back?
Some Mukhtar come back pretty consistently, but if we would have just said how many forwards were we playing, we're playing 3 forwards.
We're playing 3 forwards. I think that's true.
Yeah, whatever, and then there's probably a kind of a triangle arrangement in there in some ways, but unclear to me exactly what that arrangement was.
Yeah, I've got to say that if I could just make a quick reference to Arsenal under Unai Emery.
Yes.
So it instituted a 4-2-3-1.
Yes.
With the 1 being typically Aubameyang, could be Lacazette.
Yeah.
I mean, just to make it quick, I feel like the triangulation in the middle was something that was a positive, a virtue of that kind of setup. And I'm seeing something almost similar with this setup, except you've got 3 flat across the back instead of the 2 central defenders and the 2 fullbacks.
Yeah.
So I think that this is something like that, where there's almost like a kind of diamond setup.
Yeah, that was a
diamond.
That was Emery with that diamond. Yeah, sometimes you play that insane looking triangle. So one of the things that I think that affected both Mukhtar's play and one of the things in the back was the fact that, and it's been a consistent complaint of mine, I think that Mukhtar does not get the protection from the referees that he deserves, and I think
That's
that
right.
we saw that also with Willis because that 29 Julio whenever he came on for them. Just plowed into Willis. It was what was it, like 70 minutes?
It was like mid second half, and he ran right under him. He trucked him, and when a goalie's jumping like that, you don't do that.
And nary a card, nary a stop, nothing. And so maybe it's just me, sort of like in kind of mother hen style.
Like, you're messing with my
don't mess with my kids, or don't mess with my guys, or whatever. But part of it was just that, like, that was offensive to me. That, like, really awful looking tactical fouls and sort of unnecessarily rough play that endangers players that need to play every play and to play regularly. And I just worry about the miles on Mukhtar. I worry about Joe Willis's frame and that coming down and him coming down hard like that.
Being that tall, coming down that hard.
Being a big guy like that, coming down hard when someone undercutting you when you're in the air. It's just not only just not fair, but it's just not safe.
Well, it's not safe, and that endangering players is a card.
Right.
If you're not making sure that people's safety's first, that's a card, and that's something that 29 sees you can get away with. I mean, another thing about a card is that it's telling you that, hey, these are the standards we got for this game and keeping players safe.
That's right.
You going down with your studs up, that is a card.
Right.
You were endangering people.
I think I saw one other player take and this one was one that was just out of some physical play, and that I don't think that was an offense, but just a shout out. Alex Wheel got completely pancaked.
Oh,
and clearly had the wind knocked out of him and just got back up, and Alex wheeled.
Alex, it's just run, hustle, man.
And by the way,
hustle,
that is his last name now is a verb.
He
just wheeled
it. I'm wheeling. I love that. I'm on the wheel.
I'm wheeling.
Oh man.
All right, so that's all I had to say. Number 19.
I gotta say, I want to say it was Bobby Wood who committed a tactical foul and got a card for it, though.
Yes.
It was Bobby Wood?
Yeah, I think it was Wood.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was Wood who got the card.
Love to see you for the United States of America, Bobby Wood, but not against us.
Not against us.
Not against us.
And certainly hated it watching them do that stuff in Rio Tinto last month. All right, that's it for me.
From me, that's all.
Okay, NSC Fan TV. See you at the Atlanta game.
Wednesday.